Hello, everybody. So today we're gonna start a series of videos to cover different chapters. So the chapters of this week is gonna be money in bank. I know my hair is gone, my beard's gone, and I definitely put some weight in, but I'm working out every day, trying to at least lose the weight that I got from this quarantine that I've been here with by myself pretty much because my wife is working every day. All right. So today we're gonna talk about money in bank. Okay, as I said, every week I'm going to post several videos from 2 to 4. You guys have to watch those videos, read the slides, do the reading on the book, and also do the homework. And every Wednesday and Thursday, Anna and I are going to do office hours to answer any questions you guys might have about the chapter or any concerns you guys have about our class. Okay? And also, if you want to talk to us in a different time, just send us an email so we are more able to adjust according to students' need. Sounds good? All right, let's move on. So let's talk about money in bank. So first, we're going to define the functions of money, the types of currency. So if the currency is M1 or M2, the role of the banks, and also how banks create money. So let's define money itself. So money is a really broad concept that can be used for different things, right? Money is just is a form of exchange. You use some good or some concept to exchange for other goods, right? So if I use my cell phone, imagine like I'm in a desert, I'll be in the desert for 2 days, I don't have water, and I just have my phone in my pocket. If I'm walking the desert and I just find someone who's selling water, like bottles of water, if I want to trade my cell phone for a bottle of water, my cell phone will be considered as money, right? So I can use different objects to trade for things that I want. And this trading is with the objects we're going to trade is going to be considered as money. All right. So money has taken different forms over the years and also different forms in different cultures. So why do we use money at all? Why not just better? Right. We're going to cover this later on. And why in the US we use the dollar? Well, short answer for that is because the easiest way to pay tax or the way the government accepts your money. Sounds good? So let's talk about different concepts of money. So let's go to more alternative money-based exchange. Let's go to barter, right? So barter is pretty much exchange. I would get one good, you have another, we just exchange goods, right? Imagine that I want a piece of chicken because I'm hungry. However, I just have a hand sanitizer. Probably right now would be worth a lot. So if I find someone who wants a hand sanitizer but also sells piece of chicken, I'll definitely make this exchange. But imagine how hard it is to find someone who's selling chicken and also wants hand sanitizer. So it's kind of complex to find people who are trading the good that you want, but also accept the good that you're trading. So this would come up with the double coincidence of ones, right? So finding people who accept your good and also exchange the good that you want to accept. So it's really hard to maintain this type of system in the long run and also for large societies. For more short, small societies might be easier, such as tribe. But however, for larger society, more complex societies might be quite hard to do. Okay? And also it's kind of hard to have like this legal tender for goods and service. In other words, a bottle of hand sanitizer for me might worth more or less than actually worth for you. So it's hard to make this exchange. And also it's hard to make like for futures contract. Imagine that I want to buy your chicken right now, but I don't have hand sanitizer. And I say, okay, in 1 month, I will give a bottle of hand sanitizer. After 1 month pass, this epidemic happened, like the coronavirus, hand sanitizer, it's more valuable. So definitely 1 bottle of hand sanitizer is just not worth 1 chicken. So it's much like at least like 4 pounds of chicken. So I say, hey, the money that I promised to pay in the future might be different right now. So it's kind of hard to hold value for the future when you use barter. So barter is not might be alternative for more complex societies and large societies. So, but imagine that we live in a society that does not accept money, or in other words, cash. That will be the word cash or currency. How do individuals maximize the efficiency of exchange or barter? So let's assume that we're like in the prison system, right? And first of all, they do not, prisoners do not accept cash because cash has no value within the system. So they have to come up with something. So ramen actually is a great good to serve as money in the prison system. Why? Because first of all, it's food, right? So everybody can eat that. Second of all, it's kind of easy to find if you go to the commission area to buy. However, when prisoners buy all the ramen, there's no more supply of ramen from the commission area. So the other prisoners start exchanging ramen to other goods, such as t-shirts, cigarettes, and so forth. So ramen in that society becomes the currency or the money. So I highly advise you guys to watch this video. It's really cool, explaining how ramen actually works as a money into a prison system. So remember, in different societies, we do not have cash. We can use goods to serve as a currency, okay? I'm not gonna run this video. And money has to have four functions, okay? First of all, has to be medium of exchange, has to be standard for deferred payments, has to be a unit of account, and also store value. I'm gonna display a short video of, I don't know if you guys watch like The New Girl, but Nick talking about why a piece of paper, so this is Brazilian money, it's worth, in this case, it's worth 20 reais in Brazil, right? Why? He's just trying to understand or trying to ask those questions from himself.
But what is money anyway? Yeah, it's just paper that some king on the mountain said was worth something. You know, gold, I understand, it's shiny, and you can make jewelry out of it. Silver, put a werewolf in front of me, he's dead. Brass creates the bells that make sound throughout the land. But we kill each other for paper. I gotta tell you, man, that's sad. You hear me?
So what Nick is trying to say that a piece of paper, such as the Brazilian money, it's pretty much worthless if the government say it doesn't worth anything, right? It's just a piece of paper. However, gold, silver, and other commodities might have an intrinsic value of itself. We're going to discuss more about this type of like commodity-based and fiat money later on from these slides. Let's go over through each function of money. All right, so medium of exchange. What medium of exchange actually means? It's the way that you use a good, in other words, the currency, to exchange goods, just to be an intermediate thing to be. If I want to buy cigarettes, I will get my cash, go to the Kroger supermarket and buy cigarettes. If I want to buy tuna or other things, I would do exactly the same. In a previous society, such as the Roman Empire, currency used to be like salt. So they should pay using salt. That's why the word salary comes from salt, right? It's a definition that salary used to pay, the salary of each employee used to pay with like pounds of salt. More tobacco in colonial times and so forth. So there's different types of currency that can be used as a medium of exchange, right? It's intermediate between you want to buy something and the person wants to sell something accepting that good, all right? So second of all is the money as a standard of deferred payments. This pretty much trying to tell you like when you're going to try to money to buy something in the future. Imagine that I want to buy a laptop from Mac, a MacBook. It's quite expensive. Probably not going to have enough money to pay everything at once. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay installments. However, imagine that I have a good that does not store value over time. So I would be hard to pay things in the future. So that's why money or cash, or currency, it's easier because $1 or 20 reais right now would have the same value, imagine no inflation, in 10 days or 10 years, right? So this will be easier for me to make purchase in the future or pay goods in the future. So money has to have this value, right? And also has to be easy to account. I have to be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 10,000, $10 million. It has to be easier to account. Imagine that we have as a currency as pounds of salt. right? So we're just exchanging pounds of salt as a currency. Would it be kind of hard to measure pounds of salt? Because you might lose some salt when you carry your bag. If your bag has a hole, you're gonna lose a lot of salt. And so it's gonna be hard to account. So that's why money has to be easier to account. You have to be able to account from $1 to $1 trillion pretty easily, okay? And the last is money as a store of value. As you talk about the deferred payment methods, it's more in the sense that money has to store value, right? Assuming that we have no inflation, $1 bill in 1 year from now on, going to be worth $1, right? So these would be easier to account value for the future. However, since we also have inflation nowadays, what we can do, we can put our money into investments in order to make sure we do not lose value because of the inflation. We can put in savings account, we can buy stocks, we can buy bonds, and so forth. Okay? So money has to have these 4 functions to be considered as money. So we have different types of money, right? We have the commodity money, used to be the earliest. In other sense, like imagine that we have golden coins. So money was just measured in golden coins. So we have to have gold in order to have coins. So it's more based on the type of how much gold you have in society, right? And we also have the commodity like backed money. In other sense, it's the same thing as gold, but it's more based on certificates. So if a country has a 10 trillion tons of gold, he can print a certain amount of cash, right? As the US dollar, more based on commodity-based backed money. However, nowadays, after I think Second World War, if I'm not mistaken, but I can confirm this with you guys, we have one thing that we call fiat money. So this fiat money is just a piece of paper. It's intrinsic value. It's a colored paper. It's not backing any type of commodity or good. It's just the government or the Fed, in the case of the United States, print money and say how much that money will be worth, right? The problem of the fiat money is not back in anything. So in other words, it can create and destroy value pretty easily. We're going to talk more about this a little bit later. All right? So nowadays, the majority of the countries around the globe use as fiat money. The monetary system creates or print money based on just in the policy, not based in any type of commodity. So as I say, sometimes you have a dollar bill that if you go on the top is just as here, as silver certificate, so it's more commodity-backed money. And the majority of times you're going to see more, this is just a fiat money, right? It's not based in any type of commodity. But it's still a legal tender because that cash, the $1 bill, it's worth it $1. All right? So what is the difference between commodity-backed and fiat money? So commodity money, it's more in the sense that it's more tangible. The value of money is more tangible. It doesn't create from like thin air. However, but additionally, what is the benefit of like commodity-backed money? It kind of limits inflation, artificial inflation. In other words, inflation will become more exogenous. It will depend more on the shocks that will not come from the monetary system. So in other words, imagine that we live in the United States and all dollar bills that we have is based on gold. If someone finds a huge storage of gold or deposit of gold, what is going to happen to the value of money in the United States? If you have more gold, in other words, gold would be worth less, we would have a deflation. So actually not deflation, my bad. In other words, we're going to have more gold. So what is going to happen? Our money is going to worth less. So in other words, we're going to have inflation, right? Because with $1, now I can buy less gold. Okay? So this is the idea. So the same thing, we're talking about this question. When there's too much gold, there's like exogenous shock of gold. There's someone find out like a lot of gold. What is going to happen to the commodity-backed money? So you're going to have an inflation. The value of 1 unit of gold is going to decrease, right? So they're going to have an inflation, not deflation, as I said previously. My mistake. So, and let's talk about fiat money. So fiat money would be more subject to monetary expansion and inflation. In other words, it's going to be the Fed. We're going to decide how to print and hold currency in the country. So it's going to be more endogenous. So it's going to depend on them itself to create inflation or not, right? However, we're not going to be subject to underlying commodities such as gold, oil, silver, and so forth. There's a really cool video. It's a little bit long. You guys can watch. I'm not going to play it right now, but if you guys want to watch, I highly recommend that would cover, again, the 4 basic functions of money and the difference between commodity-backed money and fiat money. Sounds good? All right. So there's also other types of money, especially after the 2012, the Bitcoin becomes quite famous. Actually, it was created much early, but actually after 2012, 13, Bitcoin started getting really, really famous. So let's see if Bitcoin can be considered as money. So to be considered money, you have to have 4 functions: units of account, store of value, medium of exchange, and standard deferred payment. Imagine that I have a Bitcoin in my cell phone, right, in my e-wallet. I go to Subway to buy a sandwich. Do you think Subway would accept my Bitcoin to buy a sandwich? Most likely not. So a medium of exchange, probably not. Because if I want to buy a sandwich, I'm not going to be able to buy because Subway does not accept Bitcoin as a payment. Other service might accept Bitcoin as a payment, but in the majority of the service, especially retail service, they probably do not accept a Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. So it's already failed. It's not a medium of exchange. Let's see the store value well. So if you plot the value of Bitcoin, we can see it's quite volatile, right? So this is the value of Bitcoin from 2014 to till like March 16. We can see that the value of Bitcoin is spiked 2018, but it has to be quite volatile ever since. So in other words, store value, well, I would say probably not, because it's still quite volatile. So Bitcoin still cannot be considered as money because it does not store value well, and also does not means a way of exchange, right? So Bitcoin is still a coin, but it cannot consider as money at this moment. Could it be in the future? Yes, it could be in the future. Okay, so I would love to play this video. So let's imagine what would happen if money become worthless from now on. How the economy would react. I'm just gonna play this video from Rick and Morty. It's really funny, and I think you guys are gonna like it.
Ladies and gentlemen. So what are you doing with level 9 access anyways? Destroying the galactic government.
Awesome! Are you going to set all their nukes to target each other?
Or reprogram their military portals to disintegrate their entire space fleet? Good pitches, kids. I'm almost proud. But watch closely as Grandpa topples an empire by changing a 1 to a 0. Mr. President, the Empire value just dropped to nothing through me. I mean, our single centralized galactic currency just went from being worth 1 of itself to 0 of itself.
Shut up, people. What the Galactic Militia under martial law?
Yes, sir. What should I pay them with? Their pay is the honor they'll feel to serve their paid. Who's paying me to yell at this guy? I can answer that. For money.
Gentlemen, there's a solution here you're not seeing. Give me your jacket!
Well, Rick and Morty is awesome. So the idea here is that Rick just changed the value of money from 1 to 0. So money has no value whatsoever. So my 20 reais bill here would be worth 0. If I were to try to buy a bottle of water, I just couldn't. I wouldn't be able to do it. So the whole economy would enter in a collapse, right? So as I say, like they're fighting because how you define value right now, you wouldn't be able to because cash would be worthless. So this would have a huge impact on the economy. We would have to probably restructure ourselves to find a new common currency to try to trade again. Otherwise, we have to go back to better and so forth. So it's just like if you want to mess up like this like interplanetary type of war, just mess up using on their financial system. This is definitely going to have a huge impact in their world. Okay, so this how to show like how money is important for our lives. Without this concept of cash, our whole world is probably be shaking a lot if something goes wrong with that. Okay, so let's talk about the banking system. So the banking system, as you know, there's several banks which you can put your money on, the savings account, the checkings account. But let's talk about the main bank in the United States. What we call the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, right? So it's the central bank of all banks in the United States. So it's the mother of all banks. It's the bank designed to oversee the bank system, but also to regulate the quantity of money in the economy. In other words, trying to regulate, inflation in the economy, right? So this was created in 1913 after a serious failures in banks in 1907. So in other words, this was trying to create a better system for banks in the United States. So in other words, the idea of the Fed is to ensure the health of the nation's bank system, and as well trying to control inflation and monetary policies within the country. So the president of the Fed at this moment is Jerome Powell. He is the first president that actually doesn't have a degree in economics. He has a degree in politics from Princeton, and actually he's type of like policies trying to control more inflation and trying to create more on expand the economy. At this moment, what happened, the coronavirus, we see how the Fed has trying to help, how the whole government sphere is trying to help with I would say some aid to people, consumers, industry, and so forth, are trying to push the economy, trying to reduce the impact of recession in the U.S. economy, right? So probably we're going to hear a lot of news about the Fed, how the Fed's going to be trying to change some policy. In other words, how we talk in class, how they decrease the interest rate. You are trying to push investment in the economy, and also how to push loans in the economy. You are trying to help consumers and producers in order to do a better job during a more bad time that is happening at this moment. Okay, so the Federal Reserve is defined in 12 regions, right? And the Federal Reserve in DC is considered the board of all Federal Reserves across the nation. And there's one, so as you can see in the map, there's several. So just for the west part of the U.S., there's one in San Francisco, and there's more divisions on around the Fed. So total, there's 13, which one is the main, so it's in DC, so it's the board, and there's another 12 regional Fed around the country, right? So this helps to understand how the overall system across different cities and states is what is happening. So it's give like a more regional perspective what is happening in the financial system across the whole nation. So what is the Fed's job? As I said, first of all, it's overview the overall bank system, right? So understand financial conditions on the bank system. Also facilitate bank transactions between banks, and also act as the bank of all banks. If a bank needs a loan, so the Fed is there to help them. But usually, banks trying to avoid to get loans from the Fed because this might be seen as a signal of trouble, right? Because they're not able to get money from other banks, right? So Fed is more here to help to regulate the overall financial system in the U.S. They also control the monetary policy, right, of money supply, target inflation towards the interest rate, and also the supply of money. So they want to print more money or not. Hello, everybody. So